Okay, why don't we start? Jump in and hello, welcome everyone to the BG5, exploring the career design of builders. I want to introduce myself. My name is Michael Brown. I am a returning staff member to the BG5 team. I was originally part of the staff, originally taught BG5 back in 2011, 12, 13, I think to 15, give or take around that. And then I stepped away and then I just come back. So I've been doing human design for about 17 years and BG5 for 10 or 12 years, give or take. And I am joined by Sarah, who is the administrator in the BG5 Institute, but she's really so much more. She is sort of wears many hats. She is a welcoming presence. She's a tech guru. She has been my savior with introducing me and onboarding me back into the BG5 Institute. Sarah is going to be watching the chat while I sort of lead you through the presentation. So if you have any questions, put them in there and then Sarah will capture them for you. So welcome, Sarah. Welcome to everyone else. Wherever you are calling in from the world, we appreciate you being here. So what are we going to talk about today? Very exciting. We are going to talk about how builders uniquely express their gifts in the business world. So as you know, or may not know, builders are about 70% of the population. So let's say that you go to a dinner party and there's 10 of you there, 7 of you are going to be builders. 2 are going to be advisors. 1 is going to be an initiator. And maybe 1, at some point you would meet as an evaluator. In human design terms, we call them reflectors. So builders are very common. And I'm an express builder. Sarah is an express builder. So we know this type very well. We're going to talk, in addition to just overall about builders, the 9 traits and 11 strengths they possess, how they process information and make decisions. And we're going to spend some good time exploring and keynoting different builder career design charts. And what does this mean? So this is an invitation to you to begin looking at a chart with BG5 eyes. So what does that mean? I want you to begin to understand that there's certain ways of looking at a chart where you sort of translate the numbers, you translate these shapes, these functions, and turn it into something really understandable for both yourself and your clients. So we're going to take time looking at the very basics and sort of beginning to understand what's the potential when I look at a chart through BG5 eyes, what actually can I tell a client? And actually, it's a really lot. So much information. So I am really excited to help you begin your journey into BG5 if you are new to this. And if you're somewhere in your education process, hopefully you'll gather some new information, some way of looking at a chart or some sort of tip and techniques that you can use. Builders. This is a quote from, I think both Linda and Ra. All builders are born to work and to love the work they do, completely exhausting their measure of creative energy function every single day. That to me is the core. How am I using my energy? As a builder, that's sort of the mana, the key of life. Am I using my energy? So imagine yourself as a builder at the end of the day, the best thing that you can say to yourself is, wow, I used my energy really well today. That's a measure of success. That's a measure of enjoyment. That's a measure of, wow, today was a good day. And so we're going to talk about ways that you do that uniquely.
Mike, sorry to interrupt,
So,
but I believe your slides are in presenter mode, not presentation. So we're actually seeing both slides come up, the current slide and the next slide.
oh,
Sorry.
all right. So no, it's okay. Um, what are you seeing now, Sarah?
Just your
Sorry for
desktop.
this. We'll be right back. You need to get. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. Apologies for this, folks. Let me how's this, Sarah?
Um, yeah, I mean, we just see the slide that you're on, but it doesn't look like it's in a presentation mode still.
Okay, so it's good.
But it works. We're only seeing the one slide now. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. So to continue, a builder is the only type in BG5 where one single function defines them. So whenever you see that red box down at the bottom, you know that automatically they're a builder. And you see these black lines, these are strengths. So there are 11 of them coming out of the energy function center. So again, if you have one of these 11 strengths in your design, it automatically means that you are a builder. Here's some key terminology for you. Again, so we're starting from scratch. We're building a foundation here, and then we'll get more detailed as we go along. So the key terminology, and these are part of our success codes. So the type, the first success code is obviously the builder. Our personal interaction style, success code number 2. For us as builder, it's respond before engaging. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this thing called response. The decision-making strategy, code number 3. There are actually 3 core ones that we are going to take some time. Decision-making strategy is essentially what it sounds like. So how you best make decisions. So as an emotional builder, wait to respond and then wait for clarity. A gut builder, and again, we'll sort of dive into and explain what these mean. So if you're a gut builder, it's response and then follow your gut. And if you're an instinctual gut builder, that's way to respond and follow your gut intuition. And the last indicator, key indicator here is signposts that keep you on track. So this idea of a key indicator acts as a signature. When you're in one of these 2 places, you get a sense, am I on track or am I not? So satisfaction or enjoyment or frustration. Either one of those 2 acts as a signpost to say, I'm either on the right track or I'm not. So you'll hear me talk a lot about these idea of functions. So in human design terms, we talk about centers, but in business terms, we talk in idea of functions. Each of these 9 different shapes functions in a very particular way. So up top, that yellow triangle pointing up, that's all about inspiration, thinking, thoughts, sort of where our inspiration comes from. It can come from anywhere out in the world, something you're reading, something a friend told you, or a coach is sharing with you. Right below it is conceptualization. This is where you make sense of your thoughts. So up top, the inspiration center is also what we call a pressure function. So you have these thoughts and you are under pressure to make sense of them. So it's as if the thoughts come in, the inspiration comes in, and then sort of there's this push to understand them, to make sense of them. And below that is the communication and action. This is where we express ourselves. So after we make sense of something, the next thing we want to do is express it, be able to communicate it in some way. And that communication can take place through words, either orally on the written page, through your writing, or as an action. Below that, the yellow diamond in the middle is all about identity and direction. Just to the lower right, willpower. I always laugh to myself when I see the willpower function because it looks like this really tight, small little triangle that has a huge, huge impact, both if you have it colored in, defined, or not. So to the lower right, those two brown triangles pointing in. On the right is emotional intelligence. This is the seat of where and how your emotions operate. On the other side is survival instincts. This is where our intuition lies. And in the middle, the red box there, that's our energy resource. And below that is what's called the drive and stamina. So this is a pressure center. So we have a pressure from above to make sense. And below is this pressure to move, to make things happen. Two types of builders, classic builder on the left and express builders on the right. So what defines the two? What's the difference? So as a builder, once you respond from your inner authority, you go through this step-by-step process towards mastery. So let's say you begin a new project, you jump in, you're building a website, you begin to learn all the ins and outs. Step by step by step, you use that energy, sort of make things happen. You're sort of, shooting for that goal. But there's going to be places on your journey and your projects where you'll sort of plateau. And what's happening is you're integrating. You've spent your energy, and then some integration process happens before you sort of begin the next level. So again, if in our metaphorical project, if you're building a website, you might find you have a really amazing week. You get all this stuff done. And then the second week, there's this pause that happens. Energetically, you're not sort of there. And then sort of something integrates and then you move on to the next level. As a builder, your response comes from within. Basically we're asking the question, how do I know what my response is? It can be the spontaneous sound. Builders are really notorious for the talk, when someone's talking to me, and there's some part of me that's listening to the person talking, and there's another part listening to myself. And I'll find myself, And it's a way to signal that, yes, I'm following along with you, but without words. And so that's my inner response is saying, yes, I'm engaged with you. I'm following along with you. A builder, classic builder, has no motor directly connected to the throat or the communication function. Express builder tends to move through life a little bit quicker. So they have the capacity, the ability to, once the response is there, the next step almost immediately can be stepping into action. That sounds really cool on the surface. And so express builders, they have this potential to move really fast. They can also skip steps along the way. So let's say that you're an express builder and you're building your websites. You may sort of find yourself starting off and then you jump to this, and you jump to this, and like, oh man, I got to go back and, insert pictures and, set up my payment platform. So you sort of move through things really fast. Ideally, an express builder is striving to be very efficient. And what distinguishes them from a classic builder is you have a motor function directly connected to your throat. So if you're really new to BG5 career design, here are what we talk about the four motors. They generate a very particular form of energy. Top, middle is willpower. This is where if you have this if you have this function colored in, it means it's defined. You have this consistent access to willpower. Now, willpower it's just what it sounds like. It's the will to do something. But the interesting thing about will is it doesn't operate on a 24/7 basis. So you have the will to do something, but then a little bit later on, it's this idea of I want to relax. So will sort of operates in this sort of energy, not so much a pulse, but it's there and then it's off. So there's always this balance of sort of work, energy, and then rest. Emotional intelligence is also a motor, but the energy generated there is the emotional wave. So the wave goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. So if you have this function colored in, defined in your design, you have an emotional wave that's always moving. And it goes up and it's down. And if you're one of the 50% of the population who has this function defined, you know what we're talking about. You feel that. If you have this center open, when you look at your chart and you see it's in white, you don't have that emotional energy functioning like this. You can still have your range of feelings, but it's not as regular, not as strong as an emotionally defined person. Now, the reason why it's called emotional intelligence is because not all emotional waves are the same. Depending on the different strength defining that function center, it operates in a very unique way. We're not going to cover that today. That's further along in your education path. But just so you know that, when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's really beginning to understand how do my emotions work. Likewise, even if you don't have that function defined, you're also wanting to understand that you're someone who's very sensitive to people's emotions around you. The energy resources, the function that defines you as a builder, that energy operates in its own sort of way. When you're doing something that you like, the energy generates, it sort of evolves, it builds. And when you're doing something that frustrates you, it's almost the opposite. The energy devolves. So that's really a good signal that you're operating correctly according to your design or not. And the last motor that we're talking about is this drive, this stamina. This function is directly connected to your adrenal system. So it pumps out adrenal energy. And depending on which center it's connected to, it sort of can adrenalize the emotions or the energy function or your intuition. Relax your eyes for a sec. I don't want you to read along with this because sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to read and listen to my voice. So just relax your eyes. I'm going to read this. This is going to be a data download for you for a moment, and then we'll talk about it in more detail. So the builder operating style happens through response. So all builders have a particular style of operating. I like to think of it as your inner operating style, your OS. So we have a phone, we have our computers, they operate sort of based on this operating style. Each each type has its own operating style. Builders are, that's the thing we're going to cover today, is what's their unique operating style. Your life unfolds based on your gut response to external stimuli. So I have this underlined for a particular reason. So you're moving through the world. Sometimes you're moving fast, sometimes you're moving sort of very relaxed, but everything in your environment, you in your body are responding to it one way or another. And that particular way is you're either open to it or you're closed. You're available to engage or you're not. So your body acts as this barometer that's telling you, what am I open to? How do I want to use my energy? The most important thing to understand about being a builder is this. When you're doing things that you respond to, your body generates energy. Your body can generate the appropriate amount of energy needed to sustain your work. So all builders are very familiar with this idea. When you're doing a project that you really love, somehow you can work and work and work and work and be surprised, like, wow, we just spent a couple hours doing this and it just flew by. That's a signal that you're on the right track. You're doing things that you really love. The signposts, as we talked about before, are satisfaction and frustration. It's either, another word for satisfaction is enjoyment. Part of your job as a builder in training, and I'll tell you what I mean by that, is to really take time throughout the day to notice, where am I satisfied, where am I finding enjoyment, and where am I not? And the best way to begin to find more of those places that you're finding enjoyment and satisfaction is from your gut. Tell you, and again, we're going to explore this more. This is another quote from Ra, the founder of Human Design. It's from the BG5 lectures. A builder has to learn about the quality of their energy expenditure. The only way a builder is ever satisfied is if they're using their energy in an efficient, effective, and productive way. This is like gold for us as builders. It's about using your energy in a way that just feels really good, really satisfying. This is my sort of playful, sort of simple way to understand it. Satisfaction or frustration, true self or not self. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there used to be this cartoon. It was really popular in the United States a bunch of years ago. This character, Charlie Brown, he was, this character who always had these mishaps happening, but there was these times and he was just really happy. And the way he signaled his happiness was this sound like, like, I'm really enjoying myself here. And the opposite is this growl. It's just like, if you have a small child, or, if you work with kids, you'll notice that they'll use those primal sounds, and they communicate really clearly, even if they're really young and they don't have that auditory, ability to communicate. I used to work with young children, and I was very familiar with, they would just tell you in sounds when they were frustrated with you, and they would just like growl. So the builder cycle, we all move through this many, 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 many times today. So we're moving through the world, and this idea of waiting is a little bit of a misnomer, and I'll explain it in a second. So we're moving through the world, and what we're doing is we're basically waiting for our attention to notice something. And when we notice something, that's the moment when we begin to either respond to something or not. When we respond, then comes the place where we make a decision. Is this something I'm going to engage with or not? Am I going to have a conversation with this person or not. Once the decision is made, you either begin moving into action or you just say, no, that's not for me. And then you just repeat it through. So again, most times when a builder hears that they have to wait, there's this inner groan of frustration. But as we're going to talk about, you are responding every moment of the day. So let me give you a quick example. Hold on a sec here. Actually, let's do an exercise. We're gonna do this together. So how to apply this? I'm really, as a teacher, one of the things that I'm really, what I think is really important to me is just being able to take the information and begin to apply it. So let's do a little exercise. And I'd like to invite you to close your eyes. So ready? Here we go. So in your imagination, you're walking down a street on your way to work. Let's say that you work at an office. Let's say, if you're working at a remote location, you go into a coffee shop, whatever, you're sort of moving through the world. In your mind's eye, look around you, and what do you see? There might be a lot of activity that you're aware of, right? There's people, there's shops, there's cars going by, there's traffic. And up ahead is your favorite coffee shop where you get your morning latte. Your body is processing all of that information as you walk. So put yourself in this state of mind. So your body's responding towards or away from something. Again, it's open or closed, possibly something in between. So you walk into your coffee shop and you look around, you look at your watch. Oh, I have a few minutes. Maybe I can sit down. So you're processing, you see an open table, you realize that you have time. Your body's response is, why don't I just sit down for a moment? As opposed to maybe yesterday you walked into that coffee shop, it was packed full. Your body's like, oh, I got to move. I got to leave this coffee shop. Now, you've left the coffee shop. Imagine getting to your office and beginning your day of work. So you look at your calendar and notice that you have a meeting scheduled first thing. What's your gut say about the meeting? Is it something you're looking forward to? Or inwardly groaning, oh man, not another meeting. So I want to have you come back out of our little meditation, our little exercise. So can you see how even on something as simple as just walking to work, how many things that you're responding to in any given moment? So the waiting part is just something's coming towards you as opposed to you trying to make things happen. That's what distinguishes, say, an initiator from a builder. They're not the ones pushing, they're letting things come to them. And as things move towards you, you automatically, instantaneously have that response. The key to unlocking your response is in the power of your awareness. Am I aware of my body and my body's response? Am I open to this or not? So literally, even though you may be walking through the world, there is a part of your mind that you can place your attention within. So I want to check in. So Sarah, do you have any questions that we can check in with before we move on?
Yeah, we have a few. How do you distinguish between your body's response and your mind's response?
Oh man, Gilad, that's a great question. My simple answer is practice. the thoughts have a very particular frequency, and this is what you need to understand and begin to distinguish. Your mind will create energy in the body. So think about a time you were anxious. So the anxiety happens first in the mind, but then it ripples through the body. You can feel that response. It's like so it first started in the mind. So you look at the thoughts, and then you look at the feelings in your body, and that's where you begin to distinguish the two. It takes practice. I've been doing it for a long time now, and you get better and better at it as you do. So I'm really happy that you asked that question, because it's what begins to unlock your true response when you understand that there's a difference between those two things. Nice job. And I see Nathan. What if your willpower is completely open? Another great question. That means you have nothing to prove in this life. But also, what you need to understand is you have an incredible sensitivity to other people's defined will in your life. So you may find yourself, Nathan, doing things that necessarily maybe later you didn't want to do, or didn't need to do. So you have to begin to distinguish your response versus this open willpower, because you may find yourself thinking on some level, I need to do this because, and again, this operates usually unconsciously, I need to prove myself to this person, or I need to prove to myself. There's a lot there in that question, but it just means you have a super level of sensitivity. It's also a potentially really deep shadow for you. So I hope that helps, Nathan. Great question. Let's jump into decision making. So we're going to start to work with variations. So we talk a lot about the gut. That's the energy function. That's one of our primary places we make, but there's also variations. So 4 variations that we're going to look at. The energy function only, that's the little red box. You make decisions based on your gut response. Second variation is energy function and emotional intelligence. So you make decisions based on how it feels, and basically what your emotions, you're feeling into your energy function over time. There's a nuance there, and we're going to cover that a lot. The third variation is the instincts, the intuition. Energy function and survival, so you make decisions based on your intuitive gut response. And the fourth is all 3 authorities are defined simultaneously. Oh, excuse me. So this is what that looks like. So you're going to have one of these. So you're going to have just the energy resource, that's first. Energy resource and emotional intelligence, that's second. Energy resource and survival, intuition, that's third, or some combination of all 3 at the same time. The gut decision maker. So let's take a moment to pause. So if you're totally new to design, this is something that's really it's one of those foundational pieces of learning about your design that's going to begin to unlock everything else. If you're someone who is more let's say that for some reason you've gone through your whole BG5 consulting practice and you're ready to start seeing clients, these little tips are the things that you're going to do to coach your clients. So we have 2 hats on here. So we have the new person who's just learning, but at some point, even if you're new, you're going to at some point get to the place where you're going to coach other people. So begin to understand how this operates, and so you can at some point begin to coach a client in the way that they most need to. A gut decision maker is someone who makes decisions moment to moment based on their inner gut response. So your body is great at quickly telling you if you're open or available to do something or not. It can show up as a feeling in your body or a sound that you spontaneously make. So the classic sounds, yeah, or no. And if there's something like, if you hear that sound, that's sort of like, I'm not sure. And it's best to not make a decision if you feel that uncertainty that, I'm not sure. You process information in the moment based on your decisions based on your body's inner response. This is really cool. You can have someone else ask you a very direct yes or no question. Here's how it works. Let's say that Sarah and I were hanging out and I'll say, Sarah, do you want to go to grab a bite to eat, get some lunch? Sarah now has the ability to drop her awareness into her gut, into her body, and say, yeah, let's go. It's that ability to sort of feel into it, and that's her truth. An emotional gut decision maker. So two different inner authorities, the guts, the energy function, and the emotions. Now, this is where we begin to learn about nuances. So the gut makes a decision in the moment, the emotions over time. The wave goes up, the wave goes down. So we first have this gut response, but then we need to feel into it over time. So the emotional awareness center, emotional awareness function, is the primary decision maker in this duo. Your emotions trump your gut. Let me explain what I mean by that. So, and this is really true, especially for big decisions. It's better to wait out your waves. So what you're finding is your emotions go up and down, you're going to have some final point of clarity. Now, let's say you walk in, Sarah and I are walking in, and she's emotionally defined. She looks at the menu. She's obviously not going to wait a long time to make that decision because the server's going to be coming back in a few minutes. So you feel into it really quick. In some ways, really quick, easy decisions, it's your gut that makes the decision. Bigger decisions, buying a car, buying a house, saying yes to a partnership, saying yes to a job, those are the things that you want to take your time in. So there's a little bit of a hierarchy, but the ultimate decision maker, if you have the emotional function defined, that's your primary decision maker there. Instinctual gut decision maker. You're someone who makes decisions moment to moment. So these people are designed to be very spontaneous. They just move through life really lightning fast. Now let me explain the nuances of the intuition, the instincts versus the energy function, the gut. Intuition happens moment to moment. Intuition is very instinctual. Imagine, you've seen those pictures of these ships that have a radar dish on the top and it's scanning the environment. That's basically what your intuition is doing. It's scanning your environment and just looking for danger. It looks, and when it finds something, it sort of gives you some kind of flash one or another. The gut operates a little bit differently. The gut can operate through time. It can look back and have a response. It has a response in a moment, but it also has the potential to make decisions based on the information that you have about a future event. The intuition doesn't necessarily work in that way. It's more very much in the moment based on what's happening around you. So instinctual gut decision makers have the potential to move through life really fast. If you have all three, and I've met, I've done hundreds of readings with people, and you'll encounter, every once in a while, someone who has all three of these authorities. So here's the thing to understand about this. You operate at three different speeds. It's very instinctual in the moment. The guts is sort of like the bridge, and the emotions that happen slowly over time. Which is the primary? It's always the It's always the emotions. But let's say you go into a restaurant. As soon as you walk into a restaurant, your intuition is gonna be like yes and no. It's gonna immediately have this instinct, this is a good place for me or not. So it could be really good if you have this kind of array that you listen to that intuition. If you get that response like this is not a good place for me, you can feel safe that the conversation you have, the people you're surrounded by, is not going to be a good thing, and vice versa. So your instincts happen fast, but then you feel into the environment, you feel into the experience, and that ultimately, again, instincts, really quick decisions, gut operates over time, but the bigger decisions are going to be ruled by your emotions. Let's check in with any questions we have so far.
We don't have any questions so far.
Great. Okay. Okay. So we talked in the beginning about this idea of BG5 eyes. So I want you to just, I know that I've given you a bunch of information really fast through this, but let's begin to put your potential BG5 consultant hat on. And you're going to start to look at a chart through this lens. So what type of builder is this? Is it a classic builder or an express builder, and why? So if you have a piece of paper, just write the answers down, write your response down. And if you don't have a piece of paper, feel free to type it in the chat. Remember, a classic builder does not have one of those four motors directly connected to the throat. So this is a classic builder. So none of the four motors are directly connected. What's their decision-making style? Since we discovered this is, take a moment to look at it, an instinctual, an intuitive gut decision maker. How do they process information? Really fast. Really fast. Now, this is an area that I don't expect you so much to have an answer from or to go too deep with it, but do you notice any other motors defined in this person's design? Remember, we had four motors defined. One of your BG5 eyes, one of the ways that you're going to look at a chart is beginning to understand how many motors, how much energy do they have in their body at any given time. So in this design, we have two motors. We have the energy function and we have the drive, the stamina. So here, a little bit of a hint. This is something that's much further along in your education, but you can begin to understand it because it's pretty simple to. Do you see that little strength? The 3 and the 60, it's red and black, it connects the two functions. It's the 360 and it's the drive motor connecting the energy function motor. In design terms, we call that a format strength. Anytime you see one of those strengths, the 4253, the 360, the 952, those little lines connecting those two centers, it has a really big impact on a person's design. And not only that, has a big impact on the people around them. This 360 is the strength of mutation. You are someone who goes through these powerful moments of change. And not only that, you bring change to the people around you. So this person can be someone who has a really big impact on the people around them. Because when you're around someone who's very mutative like this person is, you can't help but be affected by their field, their energy. So a little tidbit. So you're beginning to see that these lines, these numbers, these colored functions, these open, functions, they all mean something. Our job as BG5 consultants is to bring meaning to that. So what's your builder decision-making style? So really quick, if you have a piece of paper, just jot yours down based on what we just covered. And the second thing you're going to ask yourself is, do you have an understanding of how you process information? Very quickly, slowly over time, combination. It could be really helpful to understand when you begin to look at your decision-making style. That's a lot of information. That's really good. And you want to begin to put it into practice right away. What you also want to do is look at coworkers, look at your partner, your spouse, your children, and begin to understand how you operate differently from everyone else around you. You begin to have this measure of respect that, wow, I'm very instinctual, I operate very quickly, but my partner is emotional and she moves a little bit slower because she processes information over time. And you begin to understand that we all need this measure of respect. If you are a BG5 consultant, you give let's say that one of your clients is a manager and she has a team that's working under her. You want to begin to understand, to help her begin to understand how her team operates very uniquely. That's very precise information. That's honing her leadership style to such a degree that probably no other form of personal assessment can do. So refining your decision-making process. Just relax your eyes. You don't have to read these. Again, just some quick tidbits to help you understand how to make decisions even better. Direct yes/no questions are good at helping a builder have this instantaneous response. Do you want to go out tonight for some food? It just cuts through the mind chatter. What it does, even if someone doesn't know design, it drops them into their body. Timing is also key. Even if you're designed to make decisions quickly, it may not be the right time for a whole variety of reasons. You may not have enough information to make a decision. Another question for a builder is, do I have the energy for this? You may want to do something, but you're just exhausted. You can't do it now. And the last thing is just what I talked about. Do you have all the information to make this decision? Here's a quick example. For a lot of years, I was a freelance consultant. I used to do a lot of team building work with corporate groups. And so I would get this call or this email saying, Mike, are you available on such and such a date to work with a certain group? And what I began to understand is I couldn't make a decision until I had much more information. Where's the program? Is it, in Boston where I live, or do I need to fly out to California? That's a factor. Does it pay, $500 or does it pay $1,500? Those things really began to shape my understanding of, do I actually want to do this? So the more information that I have, sometimes, not all times, really begins to inform my decision. You can see where that happens. So a quick check-in, any Q&A?
Yeah, we have a
Isn't with
few
a split
questions.
definition? Go ahead,
You
Sarah.
can go
Yeah.
ahead. No, you can go ahead. You see the questions that are in there. There's two.
Okay, so isn't with the split definition that information processing is a little bit slower? How do you say that in BG5 language? If you have a split definition, which means basically you have two parts split off, it takes time to assimilate information. So that is true. How do you say it in BG5 language? I would just say just the way we're talking about. Yes, it can be a little bit slower. If you have that split bridge, those two parts assimilating together, it can speed up that assimilation process. What about a builder with an instinctual function in a will center defined? Can you say something about how this would work? The will center is a motor. So there's a hierarchy of decision-making functions. So we have the emotions, we have the gut, the energy function, we have the instincts, and then we have willpower. So based on how many of those four you have defined, you follow the sort of the hierarchy. So the instincts trump willpower, which means you're really geared towards following your intuition, and that's going to lead you into places that you naturally want to use your energy in a productive way. Simone, good question. Thank you. Let me see. Do I want to talk about this? No, I'm going to keep moving on with this.
We have one more question in the Q&A box now. Caitlin just said, do you have a book recommendation for breaking down how to understand our career design charts? I'm just learning about this stuff, but I want to understand more clearly.
Yes, Caitlin. I can hear your excitement about it. I'm really excited for you to begin learning this journey. We also have some classes coming up, so if you want to dive in. The Bible of Human Design is Linda Bonnell's The Definitive Guide to Human Design. So I'm using these words and these functions like the traits and strengths and functions and all these things. You'll easily be able to translate them. Linda's book is it really is the Bible for it. It's going to give you all that information. If you decide to pursue some classes, you're going to need to buy that anyway, and you'll be happy that you did. So hope that helps, Caitlin. Good question. Thanks.
And Caitlin, we're also coming out with an intro book by the end of the year. I'm hoping in the next month or two. And it's really going to walk you through how to understand your specific chart. And that'll be available for purchase on our website. And then the name of the book that Mike was talking about is The Definitive Book of Human Design by Linda Bonnell. And I'll write that in the chat for you so that you have that. And then our courses are, of course, a great way for you to learn more about your chart. And if you also want to learn more about your specific chart, anyone can sign up for a career design overview on our website. And that's a great way to have 90 minutes of one-on-one time with an instructor to really dive into your chart.
Thank you, Sarah. Again, thank you, Caitlin. We're going to just spend the remaining time. We might go over. Apologies if you need to leave, no worries. But keynoting is something we're gonna move through this really quick. I can't teach you, a lot about keynoting. It's not so much the function of this course, but my goal is to show you how it operates. And when we do this, basically you're going to see these little numbers, and they correspond to the traits and strengths, and I'll explain in a minute. So what you really need to understand is when you're working with a builder chart, the starting place is the energy function. That's the thing that's going to unlock a builder's sort of way that they move, operate through the world, through their career, through their business. Let's dive in. So again, builders operate on availability or not, open or closed. Either I have the energy to do something or I don't. So a trait is one of those 9 different numbers throughout. So 5 is routines, 4 is about work, 29 is to commit to saying yes or no. 59 is about intimacy, 9 is about focus. 3 is mutation, change, completing a cycle, nurturing, and the 34 is power, using your power to act. The function strengths are the 5-15. So we're moving sort of top left, and we're just moving around the energy function. The 5-15 is about patterns and rhythms. 14-2 is about direction. 29-46 is discovery. 9-52 is one of those formats, concentration. 360 is innovation. 42-53 is cycles. 2750 is custodianship. And then really interesting, the 34 has three different channels it connect to. The 3420 is charisma, 3457 power, 3410 conviction. Really unique. So what does this mean? So you are responding to using your energy in a very particular way. So for me, my one strength in the energy function center is the 3420. So it connects from the energy all the way directly up to the throat. That's what makes me an express builder. That's charisma. And the way it works is when I respond to doing certain things, either the charisma can be in what I say, but it can also be I flow through things. It's just I move. But when I try to do something that I have no response to, the charisma is pretty much dormant. So in a self-assessment, you can do this on your own time, is just looking at your energy function. Which traits do you have defined? Which out of those 9 different numbers are colored in for you? And what's the trait number? I mean, what's the trait quality? And also, if you have that red box colored in, the energy function means you automatically have a particular strength. Which ones are they? Okay, again, we can begin to look at, when we look at BG5 eyes, just as you do this, you'll get really quick at looking at a chart and instantly be able to know, oh, this is a classic builder and not an express builder. Their decision-making style is just their guts. That's just how, and they process information potentially really quickly. Their particular strength is the 214. They have a trait of the 5 routines. The 59 is about intimacy. 3 is about mutation and ordering. 42 is bringing a cycle to a close. So I added this in. This is something that you learn in the BG5 consulting class. The 214 is the only strength where you can find yourself functioning very effectively by yourself, in a small group, a small team, and a large team as well. You will contribute something different to all of those different places. So practicing keynoting. So I took some of our charts that were sent in to me and I just did some really quick keynoting. So take a look at this. There's only 2 functions defined, only 1 strength there. And you'll notice that it's all colored in red, which means it's unconscious. So this is how I would talk to a client. You respond to entering into new experiences that represent learning cycles. That's the 4253 strength that bring you wisdom to share when they're done. This is an unconscious process for you. Unconscious, you know that it's unconscious, so it's happening below their conscious awareness in the moment. Your gut response helps you to focus on one thing at a time, trait number 9, and find routines, trait number 5, that support your cycles of growth and maturation. So we've just taken these 3 keynotes and we weave them together and we begin creating a story of how they operate. This is an emotional gut decision maker. Your gut response leads you to a life and a career based on discovery. This is the 2946 strength of a learning journey towards deepening your leadership capacity in a step-by-step way. So now we're beginning to understand the 2946 unlocks the builder. They have this process of they go through cycles of beginning, middles, and ends. As they move through that cycle, they deepen their leadership capacity of the 731. Their emotional authority means that they need to take time before they commit to something new. Through your discovery process, again, we're coming back to the 2946, you'll naturally find yourself exploring, now we're on to the 3410, new and exciting directions to immerse yourself in. By following your own convictions, you'll become a leader that others look to in a time of need. So we just keynoted a good portion of that chart really simply and concisely. Instinctual gut response making. Your inner response enters you into a flowing rhythm that allows you to easily use your power to complete projects that you're naturally focused on. What we're doing is we're sort of mixing and matching here. Intuitively stepping up and supporting others, this is the 2750 strength, comes naturally to you. Using your intuition helps in your struggle to not burn out through overgiving of yourself. So what does that mean? The 2750 is really about establishing values, but it's also caretaking, nurturing other people. The challenge of having this in your design is that you can give too much, and that's a potential struggle for you. That's the 2838. And so your struggle is something you're going to try and finally you begin to find this thing called boundaries. And so it's something you become naturally skilled at, making progress, becoming more organized in your career. Once you begin to understand keynoting and how you can flow through design, it becomes really magical at that point. Taking your time, which is about emotional authority, before entering into emotionally intimate interactions with friends or coworkers, that's the 59-6, can lead to relationships that are mutually supportive. That's a tribal thematic for one another. It's equally important to take your time before saying yes to entering into any new relationships or new communities, groups, organizations. Even though you may be excited to jump in and start something new, that's the 3, difficulties or chaos may result from jumping in too soon. We're essentially doing this. One of the things I want you to begin to see is we're having a coaching conversation with a client. They come to you with, say, a problem. What you're going to do is look at their design through coaching eyes and say, this is ideally how you're meant to operate in a way that feels very authentic to you. A little bit more keynoting, and then we're going to be finishing up in a moment. When I look at a chart, when I first look, I just use my eyes to sort of glance around at a chart. When the first thing I notice in this particular chart is there's 4 motives defined, all 4 motives. So instantly I know 2 things about this person. One is they're going to have a huge impact on the people around you. So having all 4 motives means they have this strong willpower, they have a strong emotional field, they have this drive, this energy that sort of puts out adrenal energy, and then they have this sacral energy. So all 4 motives, this person is going to be someone who really colors the energy of the environment. So instantly I know a lot about this person. When I look at the drive function at the very bottom connected to the emotions, that's a very particular channel. It's about moods. I know that they're driven by their emotional moods. And the moods are you're either in the mood to do something or not. Everything in their design really depends on that. So you begin to look at a chart and things to sort of begin to pop out to you. We're going over time here, so I'm going to move through the last couple of ones really quick. You were designed to go your own way in life and not very influenceable. Is that even a word? I just made that up, I think. You're designed to express your many 8 different strengths to one another. So when I looked at this particular design, what popped out to me immediately was all 9 functions are defined. What does that mean? So I know when a function is open, it's like a window that's open and the air comes in. That's the place where I'm sensitive. There's no place in this particular design where they're really influenceable through these different functions. Nothing wrong with that. But what I know also is they're going to be energetically have also a big impact because they have 8 different strengths that they're shining out in the world. So if you imagine a house has 9 windows, and each of those windows is like a light shining out into the world. That's the potential impact. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying potentially it's a big impact on people around them. So if you're a manager, if you're a parent, if you're a team leader, beginning to understand that you are someone who has a lot of different strengths, a lot of different things that you can offer your team, your clients, what have you. So I'll just read this really quick. So your design, energetically, you're going to have a big impact upon any team you lead. The 2145 is tribal leadership. 2551 from the direction center to the willpower is about pushing your limits. So you're going to have a leadership style that encourages your team to go beyond their limits. You also have a transformational leadership style, and you're going to be naturally good at it. When I look at this design through my BG5 eyes, I see something different. I see a lot of white. I see a lot of openness. I see a lot of sensitivity. Very sensitive mentally, very sensitive, very, very, very sensitive emotionally. No traits coming out of that function, which means they have a high level of emotional sensitivity, which can be something good, or it can be something challenging if you don't understand how it works. So as we begin to wind up, what's next? I will be teaching a foundation class starting Thursday, 27th of this month at 1700 GMT. Sarah will be able to send you a link to that for you to have. So if you are desiring to learn more, if you feel like I would be a particularly good teacher for you, I would look forward to working with you. If you want to work with me personally for a session, for some coaching, for career design reading, you can reach out to me directly at turningleafwellness@mac.com. And if you're looking for small bites, we have the BG5 group mastermind experience. And apologies for not having links to those, but Sarah can give you those. Any final questions before we sign off? Laura asks a question: is nodding yes or no response specific to generators, or is it more universal? You hear that? I'm thinking, I don't have a clear response. I don't know if nodding is something, my gut says it's more universal. The builder response is usually something more visceral. It has a energy, it has a tone, it has something there physically that you can feel in your body. So I don't think it's specific to generate. I don't think it's specific to builders there. Any other questions?
There was one, but it was put in the chat. It was from John, and he said, how do changes in cyclic charts influence trajectory? For example, solar return.
That is a really good question. So I'll just, if I can share my experience, and again, it's just my experience. So the Saturn is at give or take 30 years old. It starts a couple of years before and it goes a couple of years after. So 27 to 33. You have one at 40, you have one at 50. 50 is the Chiron. I had major shifts at the Saturn and the Chiron. So how does it shift your trajectory? It can be small or it can be huge. Each of those time points for me personally were were pivotal. You know, I was moving in one direction and suddenly my life is going in a completely different direction. That shows up in a different chart. You can through the software you can map out those changes. You might not be able to understand exactly what the change will be. You just know if a big change is coming. You can get a session based on that. Hope that helps. Great question.
We have another question in the Q&A. Is it possible to feel a sacral response higher than the gut? Example, your heart area?
Danielle, what I would say is I really invite you to develop a practice where you really begin to notice your body's response to everything. So I've really devoted myself, especially over the past 4 years, to really developing a practice of understanding what's happening in my mind and what's happening in my body at any given moment during the day. That that itself has become to me like a spiritual path, and it's really accelerated my spiritual growth, also my professional growth as well. So, does it happen just in the gut? You should be the one who really notices that for yourself. My experiences, my whole body has become a barometer for response. Where it happens for you, first place your attention in your gut, and then just feel generally. You may find yourself moving forward towards something spontaneously or away from something. Danielle, great question. I hope that helps.
And just to go over some of the links that I put in the chat, I did put some links in the chat about the upcoming BG5 Foundation course with Mike. We offer the first class free for everyone. So if you're wanting to learn a little bit more and you're not really sure if you want to invest in a class, our first class free is a great opportunity for you to learn some new things, and we invite you to join. We also have our semester one you can sign up for. I've included a coupon for $50 off. This expires September 20th. So you can use that coupon code if you want to receive $50 off if you want to register for that course. We also have the foundation package and then the group strategy session with Mike. So if you want to dig a little bit more into your chart specifically, you can sign up for any of his group strategy sessions for only $49 and get some one-on-one time. I will say that the package also includes the overview that I talked about. That's 90 minutes with your instructor, and they're going to dive much more in detail about your specific career design and your chart. And that's included with the foundation package with a great discount. And if you have any questions, my email is office@bg5businessinstitute.com, and you can email me anytime.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Be well. I look forward to connecting with you in the future, potentially, if it's a good fit for both of us. Bye for now. Thank you.